I would imagine as a beginner entering the space, it's probably really difficult to figure out what path you should go down because the internet has changed so much in in the context of nutrition where it's like I'm trying to figure out the diet to follow, grass fed, do I eat grass fed meat, do I eat grain fed meat, organs, not organs, fruits, no fruits. It's really tough to figure out like what's a really good playbook to just like open up and start so I can get healthier and improve my hormone markers and things like that.
Yeah, I think I saw a meme, not, or maybe it was a reel, but it was a person saying, when I listen to all the wellness recommendations on the internet, and then it's like basically you can do nothing because one person says eat sugar, another person says don't eat sugar, or this water or that water, sun, circadian rhythm. And I think ultimately the reason why there's so many voices, yes, I think polarization makes it popular, you get more views. Um, I think the bigger reason is because we are all so different. Like you came to carnivore differently than you, and for me too. And so our views of what works for carnivore is different. And then it plus our lifestyle, plus our genes, plus our medical history and our mental health and etc. I think that's the reason so much confusion. We're talking offline, but with Dr. Saladino, when he's like carnivore doesn't work and he adds fruit, like I believe it didn't work for him in that sense. And he band-aid something that with fruit or you have more water retention, right? So like for him, that was a true issue. For me, I don't work out as much as him and I didn't have that electrolyte issue. So I never needed to add fruit. So I think that's where I get it as a beginner carnivore, it gets really confusing. And then I think when anything becomes popular, there's bad players. I do believe that. As a faith-based person, the the smartest thing about the dark side is that the enemy makes you believe that he doesn't exist. And so we think that no one is evil, no one is bad, but we believe that there's snake oil salesmen that sell bad things, but how many can you really list on your hand? So we know all these things and we don't really process it. And so I just think there are people that are in it for the bad reasons or the wrong reasons. I get so many messages now of I've been carnivore for 20 years, 30 years, and I'm like, where did you come from? And maybe they really ate that way and they didn't share. I don't know, but it's just that's why it gets so confusing because the average person just wants to get better, and there's so many different voices like eat grass finished, eat organ meats, eat salmon, or eat water or drink water. And I think ultimately that's where I go back to the Food and Mood Journal. That's where I believe people should believe in their own biofeedback. Your body's symptoms are the number one way to know if something is working or not working, and that if you're giving it an earnest or honest try.
What's your general take on diet culture? Like from my standpoint, it's really hard thinking about people who are struggling with their health and then having to navigate through all the different narratives that are out there. So I'm curious just to get your general take on it. Like how would you help someone through the fog of diet culture?
I would do a little bit of research on maybe the most popular diets and then seeing what you want to commit to first, right? So like knowing if there's a Mediterranean diet, if there's a keto, carnivore, vegetarian, or vegan, and then what do you think you could stick to more consistently? And then try it. Do your blood work beforehand, do it, and then try it for 3 months. Don't listen to any of the noise. And then if it's not working, then maybe try another one of the diets. That's how I did it. I thought plant-based was the healthiest. I did it for 12 years, and it totally wrecked me. And then when I did carnivore, my life has changed, right? So I just think that people cannot be forced to eat a certain way. And if they're not ready, they will not eat it. So as much as I promote carnivore, I'm not 100% strict anymore. I talk about that all the time on my podcast. I consider myself more meat-based because some days I'll have only meat and some days I'll have like a little bit of veggies or something, like maybe a keto tree. But it's more that you need the opportunity to heal, and a carnivore diet, the ultimate elimination diet, allows you to find that healing and then figure out if there's some things beyond that. Is it spiritual? Is it sleep? Is it you need to move a little bit more? Is it your environment? You will not know that if you're always figuring out, is it the corn? Is it the eggs? Is it the bread? Is it this? Is it that? Why not just go to a really strict diet? So I would recommend a carnivore all meat elimination diet, but a lot of people are not ready for it. So then I'll just say to the average, like if we run into my cousins who are super against all of that, I'll say, just remove all the processed foods. Like don't eat sugar. The sugar is what's making you get tired in the afternoon, not letting you sleep through the night. These are not normal things that should be happening. And so then I just start there. And then if they have more questions, like, well, what else are you eating? And then I might bring up, oh, like that has a lot of plant toxins. I bring up gluten first because people understand gluten. And then you say, well, every plant has some toxin because they're trying to protect itself.
You were mentioning a food and mood journal. Is that something that when you were healing, is that something that you were very like religious about adhering to? Because for me, I think I probably ended up doing something similar to you where I would write out the timing of my meals. I would also write out the amount of sleep that I would get, and then I would write out my energy levels on a scale of 1 to 4, and then I would record like the number of bowel movements that I was having.
Okay.
And then through that, I was able to basically figure out like pattern recognition of like, okay, this food, this time worked really well. And then I was basically able to eliminate a lot of the foods that weren't working for me. And that was ultimately what helped me heal from UC. But I'd love to learn a little bit more about that food and mood journal and how you do it.
Yeah, so that is exactly how we would recommend our clients to use it. I didn't use that as much just because I struggled more from the mental health side, eating disorder. I didn't have a gut issue. I mean, I did have gut issues compared to now, but it wasn't anything severe. So in our eating disorder facility, I learned about intuitive eating and mindful eating, being hyper aware of what you're eating, how you're feeling. I did use the food and mood journal while I was going through nutritional therapy school. So they wanted you to write down what you felt. Did a supplement help? And so for those things, I did feel like, oh, I noticed that when I take the small intestine support, my gut feels less bloated. So like those things I noticed. From our client perspective, so we give out our carnivore cure elimination diet protocol for free. It's on our website. We give out the food and mood journal for free because we try to stand for wellness for all. All of that's free. When that's not working, then you can consider working with us. But in the food and mood journal, we have what time did you wake up? What time did you go to bed? And then what did you eat? Water, supplements, medication, mood right after eating. So it is up to you how detailed you get. But I firmly believe what you don't measure, you can't manage. And so when someone on the internet's like, ribeye makes me feel the best, you can try it. But if it doesn't make you feel the best, how do you know if you're not tracking? If you eat it for 5 days in a row, you know it's not making you feel right. But how do you know it's not the water you drink with it or the supplement you took with it? But if you track everything and then start isolating, you are your best answer.
Yes.
And so that's how I would do it. But people need to get ready or be willing to be eating that certain diet.